At a family gathering, my husband's sister pulled me aside and whispered, "Convince him to lend me $50,000, or I'll ruin his reputation." When I told my husband, he laughed, she'd never do that. So I set a trap. The next day, he saw the evidence, and watched as she collapsed in panic. This all happened a few months ago, and I am still trying to wrap my head around the audacity of it all. For context, my name is Rachel. I've been married to my husband, Daniel, for 7 years. We live in Austin, Texas, and we've built a good life together. We both work hard, have a nice home, and while we're not millionaires, we are financially stable. Stable enough that certain people in Daniel's family assume we have money to throw around. One of those people is his sister, Melissa. Melissa has always been that family member. The one who constantly has some crisis going on, always needs money, always makes excuses when it comes time to pay people back. For years, she would guilt Daniel into helping her. I tried to be supportive, but eventually, enough was enough. She took advantage of him over and over again, and we had to put our foot down. That was 2 years ago. We told her, no more money. We weren't a bank. We weren't her emergency fund. Apparently, she took that personally. Daniel's parents live in San Antonio, and they decided to host a family barbecue. Nothing fancy, just burgers, beer, and an excuse to catch up. I didn't want to go. I knew Melissa would be there, and every time we saw her, she found a way to make things awkward. But Daniel wanted to keep the peace, so we went. I had barely been there an hour when Melissa cornered me. She pulled me aside, lowered her voice, and said, "Convince Daniel to lend me $50,000, or I'll ruin his reputation." I actually laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She just stared at me, completely serious, waiting for my response. I was so thrown off, I couldn't even react at first. Then I asked, "What the hell are you talking about?" She smirked. "You wouldn't want Daniel's secret to come out, would you?" Now, here's the thing, Daniel doesn't have any secrets. I know him. He's the most straightforward, honest guy I've ever met. If he had some deep, dark secret, I would know. So I just crossed my arms. What secret? Melissa tilted her head like she was trying to decide how much to say. Then she leaned in and whispered, "If you don't help me, you'll find out." I was done. I straightened up and said, "We're not giving you a dime, Melissa. And whatever game you're playing, it's not going to work." She shrugged. "You'll change your mind." And then she walked away. Just like that. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to process what had just happened. I needed to tell Daniel. On the way home, I told him everything. Word for word. He laughed. "Melissa would never do that," he said, shaking his head. "She's a pain, but she wouldn't actually try to blackmail me." I turned in my seat to face him. "Daniel. She literally threatened you." In those exact words. He smiled like I was overreacting. "Come on, Ratch. If she had anything on me, I'd know about it." I wanted to scream. This is the thing about Daniel, he always wants to see the good in people. Especially his family. I love that about him, but sometimes? It's infuriating. He thought Melissa was just being dramatic. That she was bluffing. I wasn't so sure. I couldn't stop thinking about what Melissa said. If she was bluffing, I wanted proof. And if she wasn't? I needed to know what the hell she thought she had on my husband. So I texted her the next day. "Melissa, I thought about what you said. Can you send me some proof?" She responded instantly. "Meet me at that little coffee shop on 6th Street. Alone." I didn't like that. But fine. I'd play along. I showed up with a hidden camera, an old phone in my purse, recording audio and video. Nothing fancy, but enough to catch whatever she was planning. Melissa was already there, sipping her overpriced latte. She was smug, like she had already won. "You're smart," she said, setting her cup down. "Daniel would never believe me without proof." So here, she pulled a USB drive from her bag and slid it across the table. "Everything you need is on there," she said, smiling. "Now, be a good wife and make sure Daniel pays up." I took the drive, keeping my face neutral. "What exactly is on here?" She leaned in, dropping her voice. "Let's just say, it's emails between Daniel and another woman. Some texts. Pictures. Pretty convincing, right?" My stomach twisted. Not because I believed her, but because I knew this was fake. Melissa was trying to frame Daniel for cheating. I forced myself to nod. I need to look at this before I say anything to him. She sat back, sipping her coffee like she hadn't just tried to ruin my marriage. No rush. But don't take too long. I took the USB and left. I was shaking by the time I got to my car. I had proof. I had everything I needed. Now? It was time to show Daniel exactly what his sister was capable of. When I got home, Daniel was on the couch watching TV, completely unaware that his sister had just handed me a pile of fake evidence against him. I dropped my purse on the counter and held up the USB. She gave me this, I said. My voice was calm, but my hands were shaking. She says it's proof that you cheated. Daniel sat up, his eyebrows pulling together. What? I tossed it onto the coffee table. Melissa says you've been having an affair. That this has all the emails, texts, and pictures to prove it. His face went pale. Not guilty pale. Shocked pale. Rachel, he said slowly, like he wasn't sure if I believed him or not. You don't actually think I cut him off. I don't believe her for a second, Daniel. But you said she was bluffing. This? I pointed at the USB. This isn't a bluff. She planned this. He stared at it like it was a bomb about to go off. Then, without a word, he grabbed his laptop, plugged the USB in, and clicked on the files. The first thing we saw was a folder labeled Read This First. Inside was a document with a simple message: if you want this to go away, $50,000 will do it. Daniel exhaled sharply. She really did this. I sat beside him, heart racing. Keep going. He clicked on another folder labeled Messages, and that's when we saw the fabricated texts. They were from a number that looked like Daniel's, same area code, same last 4 digits, but something felt off. The messages were too perfect, like they had been written by someone who had never actually seen Daniel text before. I can't wait to see you again. I wish I could leave Rachel for you. You're the only one who makes me happy. I wanted to throw up. It was so obviously fake, but it still made my blood boil. Then came the emails. Some were supposedly from Daniel's work email. Others from a personal account that didn't even exist. The messages followed the same pattern: fake confessions, fake longing, fake desperation. Daniel scrolled faster, his hands shaking with anger. Then we opened the last folder. Pictures. And that's when we saw the worst part. It was Daniel's face, photoshopped into pictures with some random woman. Some were innocent, him sitting at a restaurant, standing outside a hotel, but others? Others were explicit. Daniel slammed the laptop shut and stood up so fast the chair nearly toppled over. His hands clenched into fists. She actually did this, he whispered. She actually tried to destroy my marriage. I was shaking with rage. She didn't just try. She expected me to believe it. Daniel started pacing, rubbing his face. How the hell did she even get those pictures of me? That's when it hit me. She stole them, I said. Off your social media. Off mine. She found random pictures of you and edited them. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. This is insane. I nodded. And now we have to decide what to do. Before we could even process our next move, Daniel's phone rang. It was his mother. The moment he answered, I could hear her panicked voice through the speaker. Daniel, thank God. You need to come over. It's Melissa, she's saying all these crazy things about you, about Rachel. She's crying, saying you two are threatening her? My mouth dropped open. Daniel's face went red. What? We haven't even spoken to her. She called us an hour ago, his mom continued. She's saying you hacked into her accounts, that you tried to ruin her life, that you're trying to frame her for something. Daniel, what the hell is going on? I couldn't believe it. Melissa knew we had the proof, and instead of backing down, she was flipping the script. Daniel was seething. Mom, listen to me, Melissa is lying. She just tried to blackmail us for 50 grand. There was a long silence. Then his mother said, quietly, you need to come here. Right now. Daniel hung up and looked at me. She's getting ahead of this. I nodded, grabbing my coat. We weren't letting her rewrite the story. It was time to end this. The drive to Daniel's parents' house was dead silent. I could feel the anger rolling off of him. His jaw was clenched so tightly that I thought he might crack a tooth. His hands gripped the steering wheel like he was imagining it was Melissa's neck. I, on the other hand, was stuck between rage and disbelief. I had expected Melissa to panic when she realized we had proof. Maybe beg. Maybe cry. But instead? She was doubling down. Flipping the story. Telling Daniel's parents that we were the villains. I checked my phone. 10 missed calls from Melissa. I ignored them. When we pulled into the driveway, I could already see that something was wrong. Melissa's car was there. And so was a police cruiser. I froze. Daniel's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. No. No, she did not. I swallowed hard. She called the cops. We barely made it up the steps before the door swung open. Melissa stood in the entryway, looking shaken and small, like some kind of terrified victim. Behind her, Daniel's parents stood, looking equally confused and alarmed. And in the living room? A police officer. The moment Daniel stepped inside, Melissa pointed at him, voice shaking. There he is. That's him. He's been threatening me. The officer, a middle-aged guy with tired eyes, looked between us. Sir, can you step over here? Daniel's face was blank. He didn't move. Melissa kept going, fake tears streaming down her face. He hacked my accounts. He stole my private pictures. He's trying to ruin my life because I wouldn't give him money. My stomach dropped. She was trying to turn this into a revenge porn case. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, the officer turned to Daniel. Sir, do you have any devices on you? A phone, a laptop? Daniel exhaled sharply. Yeah. My phone is in my pocket. I'm gonna need to hold on to that for now. I snapped. Are you kidding me? She's lying. We have proof that she was the one trying to blackmail us. The officer held up a hand. Ma'am, I just need to. No, I cut in. You don't get to treat my husband like a criminal because his sister is a manipulative liar. Daniel's mom gasped. His dad, who had been quiet this whole time, finally spoke. Melissa, what the hell is going on? Melissa burst into full sobs. I was scared, Dad. I didn't know what else to do. Daniel has all these pictures of me, he hacked my accounts, I just didn't want him to ruin my life. The officer frowned. Miss, do you have proof of this? Melissa hiccuped. I deleted my accounts because I was so scared. But I have a text. She pulled out her phone and held it up. Look. He texted me this morning saying he was going to destroy me if I didn't give him money. The officer took the phone and read the message. Daniel didn't even look at it. It's fake. The officer's gaze flicked up. Sir, do you have proof of that? And that's when I smiled. Because yes. Yes, we did. I pulled out my phone and clicked on the voice recording from the coffee shop. I turned the volume all the way up and hit play. And then, right there, in front of the cop, Daniel's parents, and Melissa herself, we all heard her say it. Convince Daniel to lend me $50,000, or I'll ruin his reputation. The room went silent. Melissa's face drained of color. Daniel's mother covered her mouth. His father took a step back like he had just realized his daughter was a stranger. And the officer? He paused the recording and looked at Melissa. Miss, do you want to explain this? Melissa collapsed onto the couch, shaking. Nothing. No words. No excuse. She had lost. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Yeah. That's what I thought. The officer sighed and rubbed his temples. Well. This just became a different conversation. I folded my arms. So what happens now? He looked at Melissa. Ma'am, at the very least, this is attempted fraud. And if they want to press charges, it could go a lot further. Melissa let out a choked sob. Daniel's parents looked horrified. Daniel looked exhausted. And me? I wasn't done yet. Because Melissa had one more lesson to learn. The silence in the living room was heavy, like the air before a storm. Melissa was still on the couch, face pale and blotchy from crying. The officer looked tired, Daniel's parents looked wrecked, and Daniel, he looked like a man who had finally seen his sister for what she really was. But I wasn't done yet. I took a step forward. Melissa, why? She blinked up at me, her lip trembling. Why go this far? The fake texts, the photos, the police? What the hell is wrong with you? She shook her head, eyes darting to Daniel, to her parents, then to the officer, like she was searching for someone to save her. No one spoke. No one moved. And then, Melissa cracked. I needed the money, she whispered. I scoffed. So you tried to destroy your own brother's life? She covered her face. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought if I scared you, you'd pay me off. Daniel let out a humorless laugh. Scared us? You tried to make my wife think I was cheating. You tried to turn my own parents against me. And when that didn't work, you called the cops on me? Do you even realize what you've done? Melissa's head snapped up, and suddenly, the tears were gone. Her voice hardened. Oh, don't act like you're so innocent, Daniel. His eyes narrowed. Melissa, his mother cut in, voice shaking. What is wrong with you? Melissa's hands curled into fists. You all want to act like I'm some monster, but let's not forget, I'm the one who always got left behind. I was the one struggling while Daniel got everything. Daniel's father, who had been silent this whole time, finally spoke. That's not true. Melissa let out a bitter laugh. It's not? Daniel got the best schools. The best job. The house. The perfect marriage. And what did I get? A lifetime of being the family failure. And then, when I finally needed help, you all just threw me away. Her voice cracked at the end, but I didn't feel sympathy. Not after what she had done. Daniel stared at her like she was a stranger. We didn't throw you away, Melissa. We gave you chances. Over and over again. And you took advantage of every single one of them. Melissa shook her head, tears slipping down her face. You don't get it. You never will. She turned to her parents, pleading now. You believe me, right? Her mother wouldn't meet her eyes. Her father just shook his head. Melissa, you need help. That broke her. She let out a choked sob, pressing a hand to her mouth. And just like that, it was over. The officer sighed, shifting on his feet. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, do you want to press charges? I turned to Daniel. This was his choice to make. He stared at his sister for a long moment. Then he exhaled, long and slow. No, he said finally. I just want her out of our lives. Melissa stormed out without another word. Daniel's parents apologized over and over, but Daniel wasn't ready to hear it. He just nodded, hugged his mom, shook his dad's hand, and said, we need some space. And then we left. We didn't hear from Melissa again. She moved out of Texas a few weeks later. From what we heard, she burned through whatever money she had left, hopped from one failed scheme to another, and eventually disappeared off social media. Daniel's parents tried to reach out to her. She ignored them. As for us? It took weeks to process everything. Daniel had moments where he felt guilty, like he should have done more, seen the warning signs earlier. But at the end of the day, we both knew the truth, Melissa had made her own choices. And now, she had to live with them.